Hello, everyone. Mackie here, and welcome back to First Stand Report. After so many ass beatings we have witnessed in the First Stand tournament across round two, this final round, the last round before the semifinals, deliver Western fans the greatest of joys and the bitterness of defeat. Like I said in my shorts, I have good news and bad news and some ugly news to talk about. But before that, I would like to kick off the road to MSI a little bit early because the LCK regular season will be kicking off on the 1st of April, which is not an April Fool's joke, which is also the same time as a Super Mario Galaxy movie. But let's just read it. So, in 2026, the season will kick off on April 1st in the LCK Arena in Lowell Park, and 9 weeks of competition. The opening day will feature Hunter Life Esports versus Hanjin Brion in the first match, followed by a blockbuster rematch versus KT. The two telecom rivals last meet on the biggest stage in the 2025 World Championship Finals, which was pretty good, and where T1 prevailed in a 5-game thriller to lift the Summoners Cup. T1 hold a commanding 66.9%. That's nice. Historical win rate against KT. In their most recent meeting at the LCK Cup, saw T1 pull off a reverse sweep after being down a set, completing the comeback with a 13K goal deficit in the sighting game. I see. Now, the LCK Saturday Showdown format, designed to pit the most competitive matchups against each other, returns with added weight this season. Now, as you can see, this is the schedule, by the way. We're going to start with Hollow Knight versus Bro, the Telecom Wars, and then, of course, DK versus Nonshin Red Force, KRX versus DN Freaks, Genji would take on KT, FearX would take on Bro, then T1 would take on Hollow Life Esports, and then KRX will take on DK. What is, by the way, not to burst your bubble, what is KRX, by the way? I think it's a new team, by the way. I'll get to the League. Listen, I will get to the League of Legends later on. I just want to know what. Oh, yeah. So yeah, it turns out that DRX is no longer DRX. It's called Kingwom DRX, in partnership with Kingwom. Now let me just find out what does Kingwom stand for. Oh, it's a financial securities, which by the way sponsored their baseball team because Korea likes to sponsor everything under the sun, of course. So yeah, DRX is now officially Kingwom DRX. So there you go. A little bit of notice. So you got the KRX versus D plus Kia, and Nonshin Red Force versus DNS, and Genji would take on FearX. All right, cool. We got that job. Opening week features T1 versus Hunlife Esports, a match carrying extra storylines with former T1 players Zeus and Gumayushi now wearing HLE jerseys. The two teams already clashed at the LSK Cup earlier opener, with T1 winning 2-1 after dropping the first game. Week 3 brings Hunlife Esports versus Genji, the reigning LCK champions, dominating nearly every competition in 2025, winning the unified LCK season and beside need Boys World Cup before adding the 2026 LCK Cup to the collection. And also going to win this year's first stand. Following a significant overall roster, HLE will be desperate to prove they can compete with the league stars. May 2nd, the Saturday Showdown pits Genji versus D plus Kia, a matchup where DK have been on the losing streak spanning over 3 years. Whether they can finally break the curse will be one of the season's key storylines. And this is for May, by the way. And the regular season runs Wednesday through Sunday with 2 matches per day. And of course, we'll find out who will leave the market in MSI. So LCK decided to kick off the road to MSI with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 weeks of best of 3 action, which is going to be absolutely fun. So yeah, LCK is going to be a really, really fun time as we're about to head into the biggest competition ever. Also, I want to touch this? I don't know if I want to touch this, but you know what? Let's just touch this, just a little bit, just a little bit. Now, ByteDance sells Moonton Games to Savvy Games Group for over $6 million. For anybody who don't know Moonton, they were the ones that bring you Mobile Legends Bang Bang. Yeah, yeah, I guess. So it said that it's continuing to gradual withdraw from the video game sector, a process already marked by the shutdown of its new verse division last year, increasing pressure from Chinese regulations on online gaming. which of course the age restriction, of course, combined with a major strategic shift towards artificial intelligence, it is what it is. It's believed to have accelerated decision. The company's decline results in Q4 2025, also trending the case for a rapid sell to free up the resources for AI investments, which are considered essential to maintaining global competitiveness. And for the Saudi Arabia, this acquisition is part of a broader strategy to reinforce its global footprint and building the gaming sports enterprise aligned with the 2030 vision, acquiring Moonton, publishers of Mobile Legends Bang Bang, and now Savvy Games Group will have the Southeast Asian's most popular mobile game with 1 billion installments, and also, with the massive fan base, and of course, the gaming thing. And I think the comments there is like, yeah, I think there's a question, but consider the ethical laws and all kinds of stuff. They're just added another page into that book of like, yeah, we're Saudi Arabia. We're gonna take everything we have. Yoink Moonton, yoink Riot, yoink like ESL. Like we're taking everything. And there's you can say all the negative things, but there's nothing you can actually do. So go pound sand, I guess. All right. As I mentioned about the whole DRX turning to King Woon Securities, of course, I mentioned about it. I think we have to. So I will mention about the DRX King Woon South Korea, and they get a financial. So yeah, this will take place on the this by the way, this already took place. They're now going to rename it. And the materialize will be Kimu's first direct venture in the esports sector. The company already evolved in traditional sports through the professional baseball team, the Kimu Heroes, and of course wanted to see this as a younger audience. So now, of course, DRX is now officially Key DRX Key Boom. So now it's KRX, which is weird, but you got to go for it. And also, you say that Riot decided to shut down all rumors that, they're saying that to go to the arena. So listen, that's all the news that we are talking about throughout the day. So that's a little bit of Flock of News Friday to talk about on this wild, clear, beautiful March 20th, 2026 at 8:22 p.m. at the time of recording. Now, let us talk about Western League of Legends and the feel good factor. If you take away COVID, 2020 COVID, of course, when they beat Genji, this is G2's very first sweep of an LCK team. And my goodness of gracious, this was the most beautiful series I ever watched. Well, if you could say that game two was kind of like a disaster, and then turns out to be a beautiful finish, of course. But beyond that, this entire series was down to one person and one person only. Hans Sama literally played the freaking game of his life. And let's be honest, we were all concerned about Hans Sama this entire year. The way he'd been performing, even killed throughout his entire G2 career, but never was the guy in those moments. Well, today, my goodness, he was the guy. Game one was an absolute brilliant performance by G2. 9-2-8 with a 77 kill participation. He was everywhere with incredible Ash arrows, breaking down Vikla, of course, with that incredible Ash arrow for Capsule, like kill all the minions, of course, and then managed to get a kill out of, Ari. Caps was decent, but he was never there. I mean, Broken Blade was decent, of course, with the Cassante, of course, given that a frontline. Labrov, Seraphine. I think I give Labrov the third star in my rankings because I think his Seraphine was absolutely nutty, especially in the end. And once G2 got Ocean Soul, I mean, I don't know if anybody Ocean Soul, especially that team fight where, Broken Blade and Skumon kind of fight around in the jungle, of course. And then, of course, once they got Ocean Soul, I don't think nobody can beat G2. I don't think nobody can kill a Cassante. And by the way, a Seraphine can heal a lot. So the scan is pretty much in favor of G2. And it was over. I mean, it was pretty much over, of course, at that moment. If you look at the goal graph, it was kind of like, it was tying a tide. It was kind of even. Fearix had summoned him, and then it was snowballing all into death. This was pretty much game over, of course, at that point. It was a brilliant performance by Hans Sama. 9-2-8 on Ashe. That was an incredible game one. And then they did it again in game two, but a little bit different. This was, okay, how do I describe this? This was a disaster. At around, let's just call it, let's say around 28, 29 minutes. Around 29 minutes. Let's just call it around like 20 minutes, 22 minutes at that period. It was dire. It was absolute dire. They were killing Caps a lot. They were absolutely poking him out. He was not having a great series, let's be honest. 3-7-8 on the Azir. He did make now I'm gonna track back. I'm gonna track back and then talk about it. It was rough. It was absolutely rough for Caps, of course. And then, Fearx just dominated. Raptor, getting all the pokes. Vikla, with the Mel, really good. Clear having an incredible performance on Rumble. Everything must be seeming to go to Fearx's way. And when Fearx trying to get that second bot tower, at around that time, I was thinking to myself, this could be a 1-1. Fearx will have all the momentum. And G2 could get crushed in like game 2, game 3, game 4, and that will be it. That will be absolutely my feeling. And then Fearx just being a little too greedy and a little too much and got paid for their sins. Like 3 people died. G2 chasing on it. I think 4 people died, of course. G2 got all the kills. And all of a sudden, G2's composition that is mostly scaling composition. And once we get to like around that time of scaling, I don't think they can even beat. Listen, who can kill Broken Blade with all the tanks? Nobody can. Who can kill Skewman with a GA and a pretty and dangerous weapon? No can. Who can kill Corky with all those items? He's got Muramama, Trinity Force. He's got Hex Scope Plagues and IE. He's got like the damage. He's got lots of damage. So who can kill Broken Blade and Hans Sama? And by the way, Cap's making an incredible play, by the way. Bringing the shuffle, digging 2 people in, and then of course the fight was a lot of dire for G2, and then it was a little Broth and Broken Blade showing up. LeBroth was incredible. I mean, let's be honest, I would have given LeBroth the entire series MVP. 22 assists, his bubbles were incredibly bubblicious. Like, what Busio did, of course. He was phenomenal. He was absolutely phenomenal. And Broken Blade, and he and Hans Sama, the bot lane that many people question about them, put up an incredible performance. And all of a sudden, this young, incredible, dynamic Fearx team is just showing you the cracks of like what an inexperienced team look like. All they can say that Vekla and Raptor have been to this before. The whole team and the organization have never been to a situation before where they have to be like, they had never been in a situation where they're down 2-0, especially when you're facing off against a Gen G. Because once, Gen G is a different beast. We know what Gen G is capable of. But once G2 have like the momentum after what happened to game 2, it was all downhill It was all down here from Fearx. It was literally down here for Fearx. And Skewmon was incredible. Cass put up a great Zoe performance. He wasn't having a great series, but he put up a decent Zoe performance. And Han Summit put up some damage as well. And Soto Nabrov did well. That's the thing. Everybody was expecting that G2 should be the Caps' team alone. Caps should be the only player on this team that can make sure they can win this game. And while Caps put up a performance, I think Skewmon is pretty much the best G2 player they have in this tournament. Without a shadow of a doubt. What he has done in for this team, to put up fires, to put up some decent damage performances, to have incredible performance. I think he inspired to kind of like the 1A and 1B best players in the West right now. And that is not hyperbole. The way that he has done for this team throughout this entire tournament is something to behold. And unfortunately for Fearx, I have to say, while Diable has been the best performing player, and I'm going to say this, the best performing player throughout the entire team, this is what happens when, you rely on an 18-year-old AD carry to do so much work. Vikla was not great. Clear was trash. Raptor did fine, I guess. Raptor did fine, but he did nothing. Cannon was okay, but he was never enough. It feels like it's Diable or nothing. And that, I think Psychopathic Poro said it best. Take out Diable and the entire team does nothing around him. But if you look at G2, you got some veteran leadership. And by the way, Han Sama playing the best series of the entire year, which is something we never get to say about Han Sama ever throughout this entire year. For him to put up a series like this at a time like this, just marvelous. Just absolutely marvelous. And I just have that feeling of like if you're a Western fan, I watch the reaction from Yamato Cannon, from Keijo to Trouble Link, from Kitty, from Reckless, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, yeah, listen, you're facing against Gen G. The chances of you winning against Gen G is low. But if you can put up a performance like you do against Fear X, maybe you can win at least 2 games against them. It's pretty dire. But if you can manage to win at least a game against Gen G or two, that we could consider a success. Consider what's G2's ceiling right now. I feel like a semifinals is pretty much the best they can do for. Consider how dominant Gen G are, and pretty much the LPL is kind of like a battle between who is the worst LPL team to ever get slaughtered by Gen G. I think this is the best we can do. This is now back-to-back years of LEC making to semifinals of First Stand next to Common Corp last year, and if consider the competitive nature of the LEC, this might be something to hold. And I'm not saying viewership will be better, of course. The only thing viewership will be better if they win the whole thing, which pretty much unlikely. But, but if they can beat Gen G, which may not happen, but if you can beat Gen G, holy cow, it'll be the biggest win by a European team since 2019, which is saying something. It's been a long time since Europe has something this feeling good about G2 in a long time. And maybe tomorrow might be a little bit different, but they have something to hold on to, and that is great. Consider what happened yesterday with them G2 getting crushed by BLG. I had no business of G2 winning that series against Fearx, let alone 3-0 in them. Like, I did not expect that to happen, but then I, did my research and said G2 never swept an LCK team other than the COVID year. That's insane. That's insane. And I know it's not T1 or Honda Life Esports, fine, but to do that, that's insane. And to have Hansama playing the best series of his life, Labrov doing all the good work, of course, alongside him, Skumon doing Skumon things, Broken Blade being tanky and powerful, but still be good enough to engage in team fights and win. This is the G2 team that I think Europe wanted throughout the entire tournament, and we're getting that in spades. Can they beat Gen G tomorrow? That's a different question for another day or a couple of hours from now. But enjoy this Europe. This is probably the best we have ever seen and the best moment we have had in a long time. Which, let's be honest, Europe has never had this good of a moment since, I don't know, last year, I guess. Yeah. So that is the good of the Western side. Unfortunately, I have to show you the bad and ugly side of the Western world. This series was ugly. If you are a JDG fan or maybe an LPL fan, you're coming out of this series thinking to yourself, you're crap. Like, let's be honest. LYON were so good. I watched this entire series. Game 1 was a slow, patient game by LYON. It was a slow, patient game by LYON. Inspire getting pick after pick. Berserker getting a little bit damaged. Zodokla was pretty much decent in the top lane, and then he kind of not dying as much. This was the slow, patient game that not just LYON, but any NA team with a brains should do. They had all the momentum. They had all the momentum going right in against them. If a team with some brains and some, leadership can know that they don't have to force the issue. Cloud Soul was on their way. JDG was on Cloud Soul at that time. Let me just tell you how ridiculous it is. This was around here. Around here, they had a 5,000 gold lead. It was around 6,000 gold lead. They were at Cloud Soul. They had all the drakes. A team like LYON should just back away. Don't engage any fighting. Maybe take a tower or two, maybe split push to get a tower or two, force the issue. You already have 3 drakes. You don't need to force the issue. You don't need to do anything. Just let the game come to you. You don't need to force anything. And unfortunately, in classic NA fashion, they forced the game and lost within, like, you know, 26 minutes, 27 minutes. They lost Cloud Drake and Baron, and then with a snap of the fingers, game over. I think Jats mentioned like 2 minutes between losing Cloud Drake and then the end of the game. Lasted about 2 minutes. It was mind-boggling. Raz was on the floor contemplating what do I have to be an NA fan suffering like this. I feel you, Raz. I feel you. All of NA feel you. Shinnok feels you. Everyone feels you. But it's the classic NA BS. We've seen it all the time. Look at the gold graph. Look at how pretty it is. This, if you're a Lion, if you're a Lion fan, if you're an NA fan, this was supposed to be the biggest moment ever. Yes, I know JDG is not the biggest team ever. They weren't good since like 2023. But this was supposed to be the moment. You have to stay patient. Just be freaking patient for once. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. And now everybody is expected to be another 3-0, which, by the way, would have made this first stand tournament the most boring tournament in terms of statistics ever. We were all going for it. It was going to happen. And even in the early game, even in the early extensions of game 2, I was ready to say, like, there is no way that Lion should win this game. And yet, for the second time today, another scaling comp trumps the earliness of JDG. Like Shashu put up an incredible performance on Rumble. Junji was great on the Wukong. Gala even got kills on Jin. All of this was supposed to be on JDG. JDG was dominating the game for a couple of minutes, and then in the accordance of game 1, it's kind of like, hey, Lion, you threw a game that you're supposed to win. Let JDG do that for you. And they did. I mean, JDG had like a 6K goal lead with the Nasher and was supposed to win the game. And then it was slowly going there until nothing. My God. If you're a JDG fan, you must be thinking, how do we let that happen? How the hell do we let that happen? Give Berserker credit. I feel like right now Berserker is probably the best player on this entire team. Literally, Berserker was the best player on the entire team. Throughout. Everybody was expected, like, inspired to be like the best player of the team. Berserker was like head and shoulders above the rest. He was by far the best player on the team. And his performance on Quirky just shows. 7-4-4, 85% kill participation, 38.2k damage. My goodness. My goodness. He was literally carrying this entire Lions team to the death. And now the series is tied at 1-1 with some questionable late games between these two. And now you're thinking of your Lion. Okay. Gotta push the initiative. Gotta push the initiative for game 3 to have a shot of winning. Unfortunately, JDG has other ideas. And they decided to not screw around. Aurora into Zahin. Bad idea. Absolutely bad idea. He did damage, by the way. 22.3, but nope, did not work. Inspired did not work. Berserker did not work. Isles did not work. Saint. I mean, Jesus Christ, Saint. Jesus Christ. Saint was literally the worst player on that entire team. Literally the worst player on that entire team. I will get to Saint and what I watched from David Shinnok's video and the growing concerns about NA talent later on. But Saint put him an absolute stinker of a series. My God almighty, man. It's just... this is so frustrating, man. Anyways, Junjia was pretty good. Hankyu, of course, was awesome. Gala pulled up the failures. 7-0-7. He was marvelous. Vampire was the player of the game, and he was incredible on Recon. 15 assists. He was absolutely amazing. And now we're at the point it feels like this is going to be the inevitable end of Lion. JDG is going to collapse on them and they're going to win, and I believe they did. And, Berserker did his best. Once again, the ball laner of Lion did their best. He had the most damage among the entire team. Second to Gala. Like, he was doing all the work again, and yet Saint let me down. inspired with the Sejuani let me down. Oz let me down. Dokla let me down. Like, once Jinx gets excited, gets 1 or 2 kills, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. Once Gala gets crazy, it's a wrap. 11-1-7 with Jinx, pretty much the player of the game. Although Junjie with 16 assists deserve it. Hongq with the Mel, 10 assists, 5-2. It was over, man. It was wrap. I think NA fans just kind of like left their souls and collected bodies after that series. Just feels like, consider how Europe did against a LCK team. And now it's been like, I don't know, 7 long, painful years since a Western team has, an LCS team, by the way, have ever beaten an Eastern team in a best of 3 and best of 5. 7 years. It's literally the same mark as Fnatic last won an LEC title. We are at the territory of feeling like we're doomed. We're never going to beat a Western team. Yeah, you can beat an Eastern team if you can at least be patient and not throw the game so many times. You had a goal lead of not that much, but you had a goal lead and then everything went to crap. They're being a little impatient. They're being a little bit, too loose. I mean, the 80s dragged the game out longer enough to make it decent and make it competitive, but it almost had that feeling of this game was over one way or another, and it did. And if I were a Lion fan, I do not want to hear another one of those, oh, you did well, nobody was expecting you to do well. If I were inspired, I said, shut the fuck up of all those analysis saying, hey, good job, do all this stuff. No, good jobs are, listen, close, it's only made in horseshoes and hand grenades. And then there's a CSGO saying, okay, I think every single LCS fan, including Mr. Shynock and probably myself, are tired of this narration of like, we are so close to winning. Close is not going to get you in the cover of Wheaties. Close is not going to get you into the top headline of like, I don't know, FST or, RFT or Gold.gg. It's wins. Caps did not become a Hall of Legends by being like close to winning. He beat Asian teams. He beat Faker. He beat Faker twice in a year and won MSI. I do not hear about closeness. Closeness is when you're trying to get into a partner bedroom. This is not close. I don't want to hear. I think David is right. Listen, I think David is right. I do not want to hear another one of those, oh, thank God we did a try. If I were Jad right now, I know Jad has a good thing, and I know Jad is a good guy. He can speak, positively, of course, but inside he's seething. He is freaking seething right now because it's been this whole thing year after year. And listen, Saint, I am sorry. Saint, you are officially now on my Temu of the tournament rankings. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, for anybody who don't know, after this tournament is over, I will rank the Temu of the tournament, in which I partner the worst top laners, the junglers, the mid laners, the bot laners, and everything. I will do my Temu team of first stand. And unfortunately for you, Saint, you're pretty much in the run-in because of your performances have been crap. And now this performance has pretty much put into question the NA talent talk that has been coming on. Because in case many people do not know, I'm recording this 1 week before the NACL are gonna be in there. And listen, I may not watch a lot of NLCL, and that's fine, of course, but I'll tell you one thing. These talented mid laners are going to take your spot, Saint. These people are going to take your slot, no problem. Because they will probably replace you in a heartbeat. The question is, who has the gallbladder to do that? Who has the gallbladder to take up NA talent right now? Because right now, NA talent are feeling like, we don't want NA talent. We want to win now. Fuck winning now. We don't care about winning. We care about development. Bringing you talents. I want to see someone pick up a Maryville University. Pick up Sparex, for God's sakes. Scary Jerry? Abstinius? Those are talent. Winthrop University? They don't have talent. Central Gaming? You can bring Azula, or Airray, or Griffin, or Bradley. Pick up some talent. We need talent in this thing. I do not want another year of like, we don't have any talent because we wanted to win. Bullshit about winning. Winning is for losers. Winning is for LPL and LCK. We care about our region trying to develop. And if you cannot develop, if you cannot let it grow, if you cannot make up and trying to accept that this region has to suffer in order to succeed, then we're losing ourselves. Like, I don't think LYON is going to be back into this tournament anymore. Consider how, FlyQuest and Sentinels and all the other teams are going to develop. I do not think LYON's going to make it back. I don't think LYON's going to make it back. You are never going to make it back because Inspired and Dokla has done all the work throughout the entire year. You're never going to get Cloud9 being stinking again. You already capitalized on all that stuff. You capitalized on Cloud9 being crap. And what did it do on you? It got you to scraping by Brazil, getting clean sweep by Genji, which is expected, and getting handed a victory by JDG, who, by the way, looking at the worst LPL team now, and we have BLG versus JDG to see who's the crappiest LPL team to get smashed by Genji. Congratulations. You deserve an award. Congratulations. At least we get a 3-1. At least we get a 3-1. So that was, 4 wins by Western teams? Get an award, baby. Get an award. You earn it. You absolutely damn earn it. And my God, I have to stop now because right now I'm supposed to be positive. G2 are in the semifinals. Akeem, calm down. Calm the frick down. G2 are in the semifinals. Okay? Let's just talk about that. Listen, I was never expecting LYON to do much in this entire first stand. I was never expecting LYON to do much in the LCS lock-in, considered that Zamudo was supposed to be the top laner, and then Dokla comes in, and he was fine. And listen, consider how the play lock-in stage and all kind of stuff. No one was expecting LYON to even go on a rocket run and do that. So part of me must be feeling like, okay, nobody was expecting this team to do much, and they did fine. But consider the results, and consider now that Brazil is now being our dog for the last couple of months, it's a growing trend. It's a growing painful sign. And with Europe being this far up, with all the momentum, and with G2 going through, I think LCS is in the bottom of the ladder. It is dire days for LCS, and because of not picking up talent, because of trying to win and trying to do everything, and you get results like this year upon year, it kind of put the question of the GMs of feel like, are you sure you're picking up NA talent? Are you sure you wanted to win? Because let me tell you something. I mean, I can see all these talented players being good enough and being, straight into the LCS. And it's like, oh, but that guy looks stink. Replace him. Give the guy some fucking time. Please. Okay? And if he doesn't do well, give him a year or two. Look what FlyQuest are doing right now. I'm not going to hold FlyQuest on a cattle because, of course, Griffin did not play well. I give Griffin some time. I think Papa Smitty knows it. The same thing I give his Sentinels time. The same thing I'm probably going to give, the Disguised Toast team time. It's about time. Listen, I'm a Man United fan who hasn't won a Premier League trophy in like 12 years. I got a stinking draw from Bournemouth, okay? Normally I'll be upset about it, but sometimes you have to realize that our expectations are not as high as we used to before. And I can accept that. I can absolutely accept that. But unfortunately for you North American people, you're thinking that winning an international event will give your region some recognition, when in reality, financially, it doesn't, okay? It doesn't. So here's the thing. LYON, you did fine in this tournament. Not good enough, but fine. That is pretty much the good news. Fine, decent, never expected to do anything much, and then you disappoint us again, which is like the NA standard. Good job. Fantastic. So, on the very first day of spring, we got Gen G versus G2, and let's be honest, I just don't see, G2 doing anything much against Gen G. It would take a miracle, and I mean a god-tier miracle, for G2 to even win a game. If they win a game against Gen G, marvelous. Pop the champagne and go crazy. I will give Gen G a 3-0 sweep. Maybe if G2 can play decently like they did in Fear X, I think they'll be fine. But I think, G2 are going to win this series. It will be like the greatest thing ever for Europe in a long time. And then we get the fraud matchup. We get the Battle of the Frauds. We got the fraud matchup. BLG versus JDG in a rematch in which BLG won all 5 games, but threw away 2, and JDG did not even touch BLG. I think it'll be the same thing here. I think it'll be a 3-1. Give them a 3-1. Maybe give JDG something, but unfortunately, I will have them. And then we got a Gen G BLG final. It'll be Knight versus Chovy. And you know what? People who's waking up 8 a.m. in the morning on a weekday for Eastern fans, it's great. Can't we just locate a place and just put up a time to just say, oh, let's just cater to the fans. Just cater to the audience, in your arena. Because if you don't, hand it off to Korea and of course the LPL. Hand it off to Korea and China. And if Korea and China doesn't want to wake up at 3 a.m., pound sand. Pound sand. Riot needs to cater for the audience, not for the other people. Okay? They need to cater for what's here. Right now. I can stay up at 2 a.m. in the freaking morning watching League. If Asian people do not like it, pound sand more. Okay? Just pound some more sand. Alright? Cool. That concludes it. Of course, that concludes First Time Report. It was wild, it was crazy, and I know I get something in the chest, but please, listen. I'm going to make an advertisement. Please watch the NLCL. I know I may not watch it, of course. I know David Scheinach is not kind of a fan, of course, but I just want you to watch the NLCL 2026 spring, okay? This will take place on the March 27th to the June of the 5th. Wow, that's a long run. But I wanted I may have to cover it. I may have to cover it, of course, during my leagues rundowns with all the kind of stuff to just show you what NA talent is supposed to look like. Because I feel like NA talent could bring this region up instead of just tearing it down by impatience, by poor GMing, and all kinds of stuff. We need NA talent to succeed. Otherwise, we are going to have the same fucking problems every year. Okay? I just want my 2 cents, okay? Sorry about complaining, but I think I need to get the message across. Anyways, have yourselves a good weekend. Enjoy the rest of March Madness. And I will see you all next time.